This peptide might just cause anaphylactic shock. If you want to find out what it is, stay tuned. Standing here with my good friend Bruce from Legendary Foods, and they have done it again. Mac and cheese, 47 grams of protein, only 7 net carbs. I can't tell the difference between this and regular. I highly recommend you try this. I love it. Check it out at legendaryfoods.com. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
Energy pouches are the way. Energy pouches are the wave of the future, and Underrated Muscles Locked In is first to bring it to you. With between 50 and 100 milligrams of caffeine per pouch, you can dial in the quick, clean energy and focus you need on the go. Simple, easy to use. Pop one between your cheek and gum to get you through your day, to get you through your workout. Code RX20, underratedmuscle.com. Get locked in today.
RX Television, RXMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, your weekly 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. Dave is joining us from India. Let me pull him up. There we go. Dave, you just flew in, 14-hour flight, and you didn't sleep a single wink on the plane. How exactly are you feeling right now?
I had a few cat naps, but I had some good meals on the plane, and I had a few cocktails, so that was good. And no, it's midnight here. I've been here for a while. I got a little cat nap here, and then we went out for dinner. I've been eating. When I come to India, I'm like, when in Rome, do like the Romans do. I eat only authentic Indian food. I don't eat anything that's even remotely close to American food here. And I don't go for like sushi here. I just eat all Indian food because I really like it. The authentic stuff is so good. And you know what's weird about Indian food in India? It doesn't bother my stomach. Like if I eat too much Indian food in the United States, it's probably because they put preservatives and stuff into it. It affects me a lot worse. I can eat anything here. Now I'm not that I'm trying to jinx myself, and it doesn't really bother me. And so I got to say that I do enjoy coming here. I'm in Mumbai. Our friend Shiru at his big show that's coming up this weekend. It's going to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I didn't realize that the expo supposedly here gets over, like 200,000-300,000 people.
From everything I heard, it's really a very, very, very. I mean, FIBO is the largest as far as regionally. This is probably the biggest of the fitness expos in that South Asian region. What exactly is your plan there? I know you're going to be exhibiting. Obviously, they're going to have Alphalete, our distributor, is going to have a Species booth at the exhibition. You have that. What else do you have planned during your time in India?
Yeah, I'm doing some sort of a presentation at the expo. I don't know exactly what it is. They haven't really told me. One of the days, I'll be at the booth, taking pictures with people and educating about the products. We're going to a gym tomorrow. I'm doing a gym appearance in Mumbai here. So if anyone wants to come to that, you can check it out on the Instagram. I'll be there for, I think, 1:30 p.m. East Indian time. And what else? If you saw the ride I took, oh my God, I took my hands. One of those little like rickshaws, except the ones that motorized ones. Yeah, I got into one of those. I had to take a ride back from the restaurant we went to today. What a crazy ride! You want to take your life into your own hands? Get into one of those. I put up some Instagram footage, but I'm taking video for a full India overview video. I also have, as I know you guys love, I have some anabolics underground anabolic videos I'm going to be doing as well. So that it always seems like that's the most popular video of the weekend. I don't know why, but
that's the kind of stuff people love. But again, Dave is in India right now exhibiting. He's going to be at the Sharu Classic. That's going to be this weekend or during the course of the week?
It'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Fridays. There you go. So it's going to be a 3-day expo. So if you're in India, if you're going to Mumbai, Dave will be at the Alpha Elite booth. So go check him out. Find out about our new products. And of course, Species is going to be rolling out in India as we're very excited about that. So this could be the start of some more trips for Dave over the course of the next few months and over the next few years as we expand into India. Let's go to the questions. The first two questions on this show from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Dave, about a month ago, I took Mots-c 5 mg. I went into anaphylactic shock, almost passed out, and ended up calling 911. Now I'm scared to take peptides. I've been taking Pharma compound, HCG and FSH for a week. I've been okay. Now when I take it, I go into baby shocks. Is there something wrong with me now that I should get checked out? I'm going to go do blood work on Monday.
Mots-c has some anecdotal and empirical evidence to suggest that some people do go into anaphylactic shock from it. There's a percentage, and that's why I tell people, I said, peptides are not innocuous. They're not like things that don't do anything. They work on the body. And so, but this particular peptide, some people are very sensitive to it. So just because you're sensitive to Mots-c doesn't mean the other ones are going to cause that. I believe whatever you're experiencing from these other ones that you claim you're taking, these baby anaphylactic shots you're going to, I think that's just psychological. I think because you're worried. And hey, I would be worried too after what happened from the Mots-c. You're probably, in your brain, you're creating a problem that doesn't exist. The other peptides have not been shown to do that. It's just that particular one. It drops blood pressure. When blood pressure drops and heart rate picks up, okay, it's a scary feeling. You feel like you're having a heart attack, and it can cause an anxiety attack on top of that. So that's why you felt like that. And once again, I would not take any Mots-c if that's the case. But taking the other peptides should be fine. The growth hormone releasing peptides and the, if you even took growth hormone or insulin, that's a peptide hormone. It just happens to be a prescription, peptide hormone. Those should be fine. The healing peptides like BPC and TB-500 are fine. But Mots-c in particular, and a lot of people don't know this, it can cause shock in certain people.
Dave, you want to tell the folks a little bit more about the app? The second question, for full disclosure, is a repeat that we had on another platform last week.
Yeah, guys. And with the holidays coming up, obviously, we got Black Friday coming up. By the way, we're going to be having some sales this week for Species Nutrition, or next week, I should say. So make sure you check those out. But with the holidays coming up, the Dave Palumbo Experience app is a great little stocking stuffer you can buy your loved ones. It basically is Dave Palumbo in your back pocket as your coach. You get all my writings, all the videos I've ever done in one place, organized well. I answer everyone's questions in an open forum, so you see everyone's questions, everyone's answers, which is great because that's a learning experience. I always love to read Q&As because sometimes I don't even know I have that question. I see the question, and then you learn a lot from the answers. We do a Q&A video every single week for the app members, so you're going to get to see a video Q&A. It's like another Ask Dave that we do exclusively for the app members. Plus, I have all my protocols, my keto diet, my cyclical keto diet for men, women. I have my drug cycles on there for men, women, beginners, and advanced. Everything's in the app. It's constantly evolving. And, it's like I said, it's $29 a month. You download it from your Android or iTunes store. And once again, it's great holiday stocking stuff. But it's a learning experience. It's something that never stops. And it evolves every single month. We keep adding more and more content every week. So thank you guys for all the support on that. I know we have a sale, Sid, right, for Titan Medical?
Yes. So Titan Medical right now is called the Titan Transformation AOD 9604 Mots-c, the aforementioned Mots-c, tesamorelin, ipamorelin, one shot, the Titan Transformation and Titan Medical Center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great opportunity to get in on this. Titan Medical has like the purest, best peptides out there. I love the fact that they're compounded and made right here in the United States. They get sent to you right from that pharmacy. explicit instructions. They send them with the syringes, everything. I love when I get my box. It's one of my favorite times of the month when I get my box of stuff from them because, I'm like a kid in the candy store. And the most recent thing that they came out with was, I've been begging them to do this for quite a while now, but there was some technical issues with doing it. Now they got it. It's TB-500, okay, BPC-157, which are the 2 healing peptides, and copper peptide, which is another healing peptide, which is really good for connective tissue. And it's all in one formula. So it's one shot, 3 things. I'm so in love with this compound now because now I have to take 3 separate needles, 1 shot, and it's all in your system. And if you're getting old like I am and you need to be healed up on a regular basis, it's a great, great compound. Once again, check them out at TitanMedicalCenter.com. Mention Dave Palumbo, RX Muscle. You're going to get a great discount.
Let's go to the rest of our questions from our YouTube community page. 2 questions kind of sandwiched together. Wait, hello? Did I lose you? You can hear me, right?
I can hear you. I'm just moving around here.
Okay, no problem at all. So 2, I guess, relatable questions. 1, whatever happened to the live witch segments, the interview segments? And the second, can you do a long-form interview with Pat Arnold? Pat is woefully underappreciated and forgotten for the role he played in basically creating the pro-hormone and designer steroid industry. And it would be great for someone to get that history and Pat's role in it on record.
Yeah, I love Pat Arnold. Him and I are very good friends. I've known him for years. We always got along well. I know he had some very harsh statements about Victor Conte when Victor died recently, but they had a big falling out. So I understand that. They both went to jail over it, so I can understand that even more. I'd love to get Pat on. He's, like I said, brilliant. He can talk about steroids better than anyone I know because he knows the science of it. He knows how to create them. He knows the chemistry of it. And I totally respect that. The one thing I was very weak at in school was organic chemistry, which he is brilliant at. He can spin molecules in his head, like no one I've ever seen. So that was a very good idea to do the interview. As far as the live lifts, we try to do, a lot of content on RX Muscle. We found that sometimes the live with interviews, unless there's something to talk about specifically, never really got as many views as some of the podcasts we're doing. It seems like we're in the world of podcasts. People like these long format podcasts where we talk about a variety of different topics. Once again, if I have someone who has a really good story, and I always like to feature the winner of the Nationals, the USA, the North American, and now we're doing the Arnold, amateur. I like to get those bodybuilding overall champions, because no one really gives these guys enough, praise and the ability to really, speak and talk about who they are. So I get those guys out all the time. But sometimes the pros, you hear so much from them on their own Instagram and their own YouTube channels that there's not that much to talk about because all the topics are out there. When we first started doing live with, no one had their own little channels at that point. No one was doing a lot of social media stuff, so no one really knew a lot of what was going on with these guys. And it was much more relevant for me to get them on to tell people what their the latest show they're going to do and what they're planning on, and how much they weigh and all the latest and greatest. We like to hear from these guys, but everyone does it on their own social media now. So I try to do more content that people are looking for, like information like Ask Dave. What we do need to do, and we're going to start doing more of, is Iron Debate, because I love that's always been my favorite show. Sometimes it's hard to coordinate people, but I would like to see us do more of that.
So look forward to more episodes of Iron Debate. I mean, we always try to, get the ball rolling on it pre-Olympia or pre-Arnold Classic. Obviously, that's when everybody's primed to want to give their opinions on the big upcoming shows, but we're going to look to make that more of a regular thing. And when the show is hot, that's exactly what we were doing. November, December, way before the Arnold Classic. That's where we have topics and, bring on some of the top minds, top opinion givers in the industry. And we'll look forward to doing just that. Let's continue with the questions. Your thoughts on the new melatonin heart failure study that was recently published? So I guess potential links between melatonin and heart failure.
I think that was why, I looked into that. Obviously, I'm a big melatonin advocate. We sell Somalize with melatonin. And I've been taking melatonin for 25 years. And there's so much great research about melatonin from even when COVID was out, it helps, COVID virus inhibits melatonin production in the body. So they found that by providing melatonin, it helped the virus get rid of the virus quicker. It helped the virus stop replicating. But the anti-aging effects of melatonin, the antioxidant effects of melatonin on the cells is second to none. It's such a great product. Now, here's the problem, and this is how. So I went in and looked at the study. The study's flawed because it's a retrospective study, which means that they didn't give people melatonin and then see what happened. They went back and looked at populations of people who take melatonin and then populations of people who died of cancer and heart disease and this and that. And what they found was that there was a large percentage of people who died of heart disease that supposedly were taking melatonin. Now, people who have heart failure or are in heart failure, you don't just die tomorrow. It's a long, prolonged type of thing. They're usually on Lasix. They're on different medications to make the heart function better. But over time, the heart fails and they die. Those people have a lot of trouble sleeping. Okay, so what they didn't take into account was the fact that because these people have a lot of trouble sleeping, most of them take melatonin to help go to sleep. It's everyone always tries the natural approach first. And even if you're taking a prescription medication like an Ambien or something like that, a lot of people combine it with melatonin, especially in older populations of people, because we know it's a good anti-aging drug as well. So to look at populations of people who have heart failure and say, just because they're taking melatonin, the melatonin caused it, is idiotic. It's idiotic. More than likely, these people started taking melatonin after they got heart failure, diagnosed with heart failure, because they couldn't sleep at night. So these studies are completely skewed. It has nothing to do with the fact that they were taking melatonin. And I would not worry. I wouldn't stop. I wouldn't even consider it even a risk factor. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever why melatonin would cause you to have heart failure. It's ludicrous. But these studies are out there, and that's the problem with studies. If you don't know how to read studies, you can believe anything, and that's what they do. They co-opt these studies to make, to vilify things. Probably the pharmaceutical industry is pissed off that a lot of people are using now high dose melatonin, and they're not using Ambien, and they're not using these other sleeping pills because they're not good for you, and we know that. They always told us when we first started taking melatonin back in the 90s, when I started taking food, you should never take more than even 3 milligrams a night was too much. That's too much. Now they're if you read Life Extension magazine, they're advocating 10, 20 grams a day. I can't even believe that much, but they're saying that the benefits are dose related, and that they're seeing even better benefits with super high dosages of melatonin. So I can guarantee you this was pharmaceutical industry rhetoric that they're putting out.
Question about quote unquote safe cycles for men in their 40s. What would be a safe dosage for 45 and up for men? 500 mg test, 250 deca, or EQ a week? What would your thoughts be on that cycle? 500 mg test, 250 deca, or EQ?
First of all, those drugs are great drugs for people over the age of 40. People always ask me, what's the safe drugs to take over the age of 40? Long-acting injectables, because they don't have any toxicity. Remember, steroids are not broken down by any other organ other than the liver. And the faster that the anabolic steroid works, in other words, the orals and the fast-acting injectables, those require that the liver work harder because they have to get rid of the drug over a shorter period of time. Long-acting injectables release slowly, so the liver has a lot more time to break them down. They're not liver toxic whatsoever. So as long as you're sticking to the long-acting injectables like EQ, deca, testosterone would fall into those categories. Even the longer-acting masteron would fall into that category. So those drugs have no toxicity. Likewise, even though Anavar is an oral and it is 17 alpha alkylated, it doesn't really have a lot of toxicity. It's not a toxic oral. So you can get away with taking Anavar especially as a woman, because the dosages are lower and not have to worry about toxicity too much. What would be a safe dose would be a dose that's not going to raise your blood pressure, because you don't want high blood pressure when you're in your 40s and older, because obviously that damages the kidneys long term. So yeah, I mean, you could even take 600 milligrams of testosterone a week. You could take 400 milligrams of deca or 400 milligrams of BQ a week, and really have no problems, I find. But once again, monitor your blood pressure. And if your blood pressure does go up, you can take an ACE inhibitor like ramipril, lisinopril, or even some of the angiotensin receptor blockers like valsartan or telmisartan. And whatever you seem to react better to. I think the ACE inhibitors are better. Personally, I use them. They've been around for way longer. There's a lot of data behind them. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with taking a blood pressure medication. If anything, it's we take anti-estrogens prophylactically so that we don't get high estrogen. Why not take a blood pressure medication if you need it, because your pressure goes up a little bit. Because let's face it, if you take any kind of anabolics and you gain 10, 15 pounds of muscle, or even just body weight in general, you have a predisposition to potentially raise your blood pressure as well. Doesn't mean that you're not healthy. It just means that you just gained a lot of weight, and it's more of a strain on your body, and your body hasn't gotten used to it yet. So there's nothing wrong with taking a blood pressure med. But I think those drugs are safe for people that are getting a little older. If I'm over 40, I would not be recommending you taking dianabol and anadrol and trenacetate, which is fast acting, unless you're competing and you're only using it for like a 6 or 8 week period.
Oftentimes we'll get questions about creatine. It's usually about dosing, microdosing. This one is more about the most effective way to get the most out of creatine. So I guess your general guidelines to get the most out of creatine intake.
The most important thing with creatine is absorption of it, because if it doesn't solubilize, which means, and I've talked about this before, I'm not losing my mind, but it's worth repeating. When you mix creatine into like a liquid form, it's got to disappear, or most of it's got to disappear. If it doesn't disappear into the solution, it means it's not solubilizing, meaning that it's not mixing. If it doesn't get into the solution, like if you mix salt and water, it disappears, right? You get salt water. If you can't do that with creatine, then you're not absorbing it, because what's going to happen is the powder that's sitting at the bottom of the cup, even though you're swirling it around and gulping it down, it's not getting absorbed because it's not in solution. So what's happening is your body is throwing water into the intestinal tract after that creatine that's just laying in there and running through your intestinal tract, and that can give you diarrhea, it can upset your stomach, and you're not absorbing that creatine at all. It's just going right through you, basically. So solubility, the ability of the creatine to dissolve in water, is the most important variable in how your body responds to the creatine. Take, for instance, the Fiberlyze product that we make from Species Nutrition. I went to my manufacturer, and said, listen, we got this micronized creatine. Micronized creatine is they basically take the creatine granules and they grind it up into like a finer powder, which makes it have less surface area or more surface area, and it dissolves quicker. I took that micronized creatine and we ultra micronized it. So we pulverized it twice. So it's like almost like baby powder. And our Fiberlyze is like that too. It mixes very, very, very well. And because of that, it doesn't cause any stomach distress, or very, very little. It may be very sensitive people. And you absorb more of it, and it's more effective. And, now creatine, just recently, there's been a lot of research to show that it really helps cognition, meaning that it helps your brain function better. So creatine is not just what we always thought it was just for muscle, right? It gives you better endurance. It volumizes the muscle. It gives you better pumps. Now we're finding it's good for the brain, and that it can go across the blood-brain barrier, but it actually has to get into solution to get into the bloodstream, to get up to that brain, to help with cognitive function. And that makes sense, because all cells in the body use creatine, and they turn it into creatine phosphate, and they buffer ATP in the cells so that the cells have more energy and more fuel. And in your brain, you can think better and think longer. It's going to do the same thing you would for your muscles, whereas it gives your muscles the ability to work longer, work harder, and fatigue less. So it's a great all-around supplement. We're back in stock, I know, with Species Nutrition, so you can check out Fiberlyze anytime you want.
And then, of course, we had those big sale coming up on Thanksgiving weekend.
Don't tell them what the sale is yet.
Would not do that. Question about injectable NAD+. What is a good quote maintenance dosage? There seems to be a few different opinions. I just started at 30 mg 3 times a week, but I've seen dosages as high as 100 mg.
I'll tell you this about NAD, and I do use the injectable form of it. It makes you really nauseous when you first take it, and it can drop your blood. Talking about shock, I don't think it puts you in anaphylactic shock, but it can make you queasy, and it can make you feel terrible when you first inject it. I don't know what the mechanism is. A lot of B vitamins sometimes can do that, but this thing, it hits me really quickly. I recommend less being better with NAD+. You don't need a lot of it. 20, 30 milligrams per day is more than adequate. Once again, I would take it like 3-4 times a week max. You don't need to take it every day. You take it every other day. What I seem to do is I have like certain days where I do less peptide shots, so I'll do it on those days. And I do expect for the first 5 to 7 minutes to feel a little like crappy. It makes you feel a little crappy, like you get a little nauseous from it, and then it just goes away. So and sometimes if you do it on an empty stomach, it almost feels like your blood pressure has dropped. So I don't know if it might have a slight dilating effect in the blood vessels, which could potentially drop blood pressure a little bit, but it's a safe product. But just understand that if you take 100 milligrams of that, you're going to feel like diarrhea. And I have never done that much, but it might last a lot longer than a couple minutes. I do know that what I take, the dosage that they have me take from Titan Medical Center is I just get a little jolt of a little bit of like, this doesn't feel so good. And then before I know it, it's gone. So I think you're better off sticking with less being better for NAD+.
Question about expedited recovery from an umbilical hernia repair surgery. Can BPC-157 and TB-500 help in that case? While the quote, ask your doctor is the most common wisdom, my surgeon hasn't even heard of those peptides.
Yeah, most of these doctors will never tell you to take peptides because they don't know anything about it, number one. And even if they did, theoretically, it could be considered medical malpractice because these peptides are not approved drugs. So my suggestion is lift the skin up right around where the surgery was, not on the surgery area. Put it under there. The TB-500 and BPC will definitely help and speed the recovery and healing of that particular area that you had surgery on. These peptides are they're not dangerous, okay, but they're not approved drugs. A lot of them. The only approved drugs are like sermorelin, which is growth hormone releasing peptide, obviously GH, insulin, IGF-1. These are approved, FDA approved drugs. So the other peptides are not approved drugs. So like if you see and I don't want to mention names, I know there's a lot of people out there doing it, but I'm not, I think they're crazy and I think they're going to get arrested. But if you see someone just selling peptides on their website, I don't care if and there's some guys out there that are very, well-known social media people who do a lot of interviews, and they're just selling these peptides as if like they're selling protein powder on their website. You can't do that. It's illegal, Now, why aren't everyone and their mother getting arrested? Because the FDA doesn't have the time or the manpower to arrest everyone. But that doesn't mean it's a game of Russian roulette. Once you become too successful with it, you're going to go to jail for it, and you're going to have a problem. You're going to have to pay a lot of money for a lawyer, and believe me, I went through that. It's not a fun process. So my suggestion is don't sell peptides if you don't have a license to do it. Obviously, clinics like Titan Medical Center who have doctors on staff and they have compounding pharmacies that make this stuff for them. Different story. And but like I said, I see a lot of bodybuilders, selling it, or they're basically promoting a specific, black market website that sells it. And you know what? If you do that, you're liable too, because now you're part of the conspiracy to sell these things that don't have prescriptions, and they're considered, non-approved FDA drugs. So just be very careful with those.
Take a couple more questions. RPE wants to know, where as popular and effective as Fiberlyze is in the bodybuilding industry and arguably the best fiber supplement in the market, is there any way you can get this product on the shelves in the quote big box stores? I imagine some of these big box stores will put your product on the shelves knowing it's the highest quality psyllium husk on the market. I know obviously that is one of the efforts that we do have for this upcoming year. Maybe not the quote big box stores, but at least some of the better known, the Whole Foods types. What is the strategy for getting Fiberlyze on those shelves?
It's tough because when you sell a high-end product line that's expensive, people will buy. It's like Mercedes. I mean, Benz cars. I mean, they make a lot of money doing that, but they're probably not going to advertise in Walmart that their cars are available, because I don't think the Walmart shopper buys Mercedes. So, if I'm going to sell a fiber supplement to the general public, I probably would have to do some kind of like a reformulation or not, maybe not a reformulation, but a repackaging of it. Maybe, put it in smaller dosages or in a more user-friendly bottle, that kind of thing. Because obviously everyone should take this product. We know that. And 90% of women over the age of 35 have constipation issues. And probably 50% of men over the age of 50 have constipation issues. And that's just natural. As we get older, the colon gets weaker and weaker and weaker. And fiber is what stimulates it. Fiber is what works the colon and makes it get stronger and builds better musculature and helps move food. Now, also, even with the addition of everyone taking the GLP-1 agonists out there, I mean, how many people are on retatrutide and tirzepatide and Ozempic? It's, if you don't take a good quality fiber supplement, you're not pooping. And if you don't poop, you get impacted waste in your colon. And that is not a fun thing to have to be taken out, especially if it has to be done surgically. So I think it is important now, because of the GLP-1 drugs that are on the market, that we start really marketing to the masses now, because it is so important to take that fiber supplement on a regular basis.
Last one, and it's a good question from the perspective of you as a bodybuilder, your habits back then and what you preach now for your own clients. And it's about taking journals of your workouts, journals of what you eat. Now back in the day, obviously you had your notepad. Now there are apps that you can use to, track everything you eat, everything you do in the gym. How important is that to track everything that you eat and document every workout in the gym?
I think when you first start out, it's really important, because I don't think that people have good habits at that point. And by journaling it and putting it down and actually writing down, I ate, every meal you write, every meal you eat every day, I mean, you can start to see a historical perspective of, hey, I made great progress in the month of March. What did I do? Well, I got all my meals in. And then in April, I lost weight. I don't know what happened. Well, you know what? I missed at least 2 meals every week. Well, that's data. That's irrefutable data. There's your data. So if I look at those 2 journals, and you tell me, hey, Dave, I was trying to add muscle, and I did it 1 month, and then the next month I couldn't. I lost my weight. I don't know what happened. And I look at your journal, I'm going to see right away what the problem is. So it's good to get in the habit of doing that initially, writing down your actual diet. I sometimes make people send me food diaries, because they're not losing weight. They must be doing something wrong. And I have them write down everything they're eating, how they're cooking their food, what condiments they're using. And usually I find something wrong. Either they're chewing a pack of gum a day, or they're putting certain condiments on their food that they didn't realize have hidden sugars in there, or they're just doing silly stuff that they just didn't realize. And so I think it is important to journal when you first start. Write down when you work out, what days you're working out on, what body parts you're doing. Put down what foods you're eating in the course of the day, food versus and shakes, into a journal. And it doesn't have to be, you can write it down in a notebook. It doesn't have to be done on a fitness app. The key is to get in the habit, because once it's like doing homework. The more you write it down and the more you keep reiterating it and copying it over and over again, the better you're going to get at dieting. And it's inevitable. If you tell your kids, why do you have to read every night? Because if you read every night, you become a better reader, because you're practicing it. Why do you shoot? Why do these basketball players go out and shoot 1,000 hoops, or 1,000 shots every single day on the court after practice? Because it makes them a better shooter, because they're practicing. So you got to practice, what you're doing, your craft, if you want to perfect it. At some point, you will hit a point where you're like, I know the food my body needs. I'm so brainwashed into a schedule of eating that I'm never going to miss a meal. I'll never miss a meal unless I choose to, because I know when I have to eat, because I've been doing this a long time. So, but initially, when you first get into it, it's almost like shell shock. You can't believe all these things I have to take. I have to eat 5-6 meals a day. I got to take my vitamins. I got to take this. I got to work out 5 days a week. I got to make sure I get off days. I got to do some cardio. So it's overwhelming at first. But once you get a handle on it and you write it all down, you realize that it's really not that bad. I just have to organize my day a little bit better.
So, Dave, this upcoming weekend, you have the Shiru Classic. Tomorrow, you have an appearance for those that are watching who are in Mumbai at Rewind Fitness tomorrow, November 20th at 5 p.m. local.
Yes, I'm just checking the time on that. Yeah, that's 5 p.m. At Rewind Fitness. And I'm told it's on Mulund West, Mumbai. If you say the word Mulund, it means, I think, penis. But if you say Mulund the right way, then it doesn't mean that. So you got to. They warned me that you have to be very cautious on how you pronounce that, where that the place where the gym is at. But supposedly Rewind is supposed to be a beautiful gym. I'm looking forward to working out there tomorrow night. And seeing everyone at around 5:30. So make sure you come down. Don't be a stranger. Bring your camera. We'll take tons of pictures. Tag me. We're going to have a great time.
That's going to do it for this episode of Ask Dave. If you haven't already done so, subscribe below. Hit the notification bell. You're not going to miss this or any other shows coming up. Dave is going to be making videos over the course of the next few days in India. There's going to be entertaining. And, of course, he's going to be visiting the anabolic sources in India. So those are very popular. And of course, videos from this upcoming Shiru Classic weekend. And of course, we're going to be relaunching Iron Debate over the course of the next couple of weeks. So we're going to have a lot on this channel for you. If you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. Instagram official _RX Muscle. For Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.